If you're over 50, there's something you may finally be ready to stop doing: explaining yourself. You've spent decades working, sacrificing, helping people, raising families, building relationships, and surviving things that once seemed impossible. So why are you still trying to convince people that you're good enough? The ancient Stoics understood something that most of us learn much later in life. Your peace begins when you stop giving other people control over your mind. And in this video, I'll show you 7 Stoic rules that can completely change the way you approach the years ahead. But number 6 may be the one you need most. Let's begin with the first rule. The first rule is simple, but incredibly powerful. Stop explaining yourself. As you get older, you begin to understand that not everyone deserves an explanation. Someone misunderstands you. You don't always have to defend yourself. Someone doesn't like your decision. You don't have to change it. Someone criticizes the way you live. You don't have to prove that you're right. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should focus on what belongs to us. Your opinions belong to you. Your choices belong to you. Your character belongs to you. But another person's opinion of you belongs to them. Think about how much energy people waste trying to control what others think. They explain, argue, defend themselves, replay conversations in their minds, and wonder what someone else thinks about them. But eventually, you realize something. You can spend your entire life trying to control people's opinions and still fail. So let them misunderstand you. Let them disagree. Let them have their opinion. You know who you are. And if your actions are honest and your conscience is clear, sometimes silence is the strongest answer. After 50, you don't need to win every argument. You need to protect your peace. But there's another trap that can be even more painful than explaining yourself. It's chasing people who have already shown you that they don't want to stay. And if you've ever spent years trying to save a friendship, relationship, or connection that was slowly disappearing, the next lesson may feel very familiar. The second rule is to stop chasing people. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning that you cannot force someone to value you. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot force someone to love you. And you cannot force someone to stay. If someone continually chooses distance, let them have their distance. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, stop begging for respect. If someone only remembers you when they need something, pay attention. The Stoics understood that attachment to things outside our control creates unnecessary suffering, and people are among the biggest things we cannot control. You can offer kindness. You can communicate. You can forgive. You can make an honest effort, but you cannot control another person's heart. This becomes especially important later in life because you don't have unlimited time to chase people who don't appreciate you. Spend your time with people who bring honesty into your life, people who celebrate your success, people who respect your boundaries, and people who can sit with you in silence without making you feel uncomfortable. You don't need a huge circle. You need a real one. Now here's something most people don't fully understand until later in life. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose possessions and replace them. You can even start a new career. But there is one thing you can never earn back: your time. And once you truly understand that, you begin looking at your entire life differently. The third rule is to protect your time. When you're young, you often think you have unlimited time. Later, you understand that time is your most valuable possession. Money can sometimes be replaced. Objects can be replaced. Jobs can be replaced. But yesterday cannot be replaced. That is why the Stoics repeatedly reminded themselves of mortality. Not because they were obsessed with death, but because remembering death helps you appreciate life. Every morning you wake up is something you should not take for granted. So ask yourself, what am I spending my time on? Who am I giving my attention to? What am I worrying about? How much of my life am I spending on things that won't matter 5 years from now? You may discover that you've been giving too much of yourself to things that don't deserve you. Arguments on the internet, other people's drama, old grudges, constant comparison, and trying to impress people you don't even know can quietly consume years of your life. Let go. Your remaining years deserve better. Spend your time with people you love. Read something meaningful. Walk outside. Learn something new. Create something. Help someone. Sit quietly. Enjoy an ordinary morning. Because a peaceful life is not built only from extraordinary moments. It is built from appreciating ordinary ones. But what happens when something has already happened? What about the mistake you can't undo? The relationship that ended? The opportunity you missed? The years you wish you could have back? This is where Stoicism becomes more than philosophy. It becomes a way to stop fighting a battle that cannot be won. The fourth rule is to accept what you cannot change. There are things in life you can change, and there are things you cannot. Wisdom is knowing the difference. You cannot change your past. You cannot change your age. You cannot make every person understand you. You cannot prevent every disappointment. You cannot control the economy, the weather, other people's behavior, or the passage of time. But you can control your response. This is one of the foundations of Stoic philosophy. Imagine two people facing the same difficult situation. One says, "Why is this happening to me?" The other says, "This is happening. What can I do now?" The situation is exactly the same, but the second person has taken back his power. Acceptance does not mean weakness. Acceptance means you stop fighting reality. If you're getting older, don't waste your energy wishing you were 20 again. You aren't, and that's okay. You have something your younger self didn't have: experience, perspective, and wisdom. You've survived things you once thought would destroy you. You've learned lessons that no book could teach you. So don't spend your later years fighting your age. Use it. Let your experience make you calmer, wiser, and harder to manipulate. There's another invisible prison that becomes harder to see because almost everyone lives inside it: the need for approval. You may think you're making your own decisions, but sometimes you're actually making decisions based on what your neighbors, friends, children, coworkers, or even strangers might think. And once you recognize this, you may realize that you've been carrying a burden you never needed to carry. The fifth rule is to stop living for other people's approval. This is one of the biggest traps of modern life. We constantly ask ourselves, do they like me? Do they approve of me? Did I impress them? Do they think I'm successful? But here's the problem. If your happiness depends on approval, you've given other people control over your emotions. The Stoics would have considered that a dangerous position because the moment you need everyone to approve of you, you become a prisoner of their opinions. At 50, 60, or 70, you have earned the right to live according to your values. Maybe you don't want the biggest house. Maybe you don't want the newest car. Maybe you don't care about impressing your neighbors. Maybe you simply want a quiet morning, meaningful relationships, and enough time to enjoy your life. That's not failure. That's wisdom. Success is not always about having more. Sometimes success is finally realizing that you need less. Now we come to one of the most important lessons of all. Because you can accept your age. You can accept other people's opinions. You can accept that some people will leave. But there's something much harder to release: the past. Some people aren't living in today's life. They're living inside a memory from 20 or 30 years ago. And if that sounds familiar, stay with this one. The sixth rule is don't let the past steal the present. Many people reach the second half of life carrying emotional luggage from decades ago. An old betrayal, an old mistake, a failed relationship, a lost opportunity, or something someone said 30 years ago can continue to live inside the mind. And every time you remember it, you experience the pain again. But ask yourself, is the past still happening? No, the event happened. The memory remains, but you don't have to keep reopening the wound. The Stoics understood that we cannot change what has already happened. So learn the lesson. Keep the wisdom. Release the bitterness. Forgiveness doesn't always mean allowing someone back into your life. Sometimes forgiveness simply means deciding that the person no longer gets free space in your mind. You have a future. Don't sacrifice it to something that already happened. Your past may explain you, but it does not have to control you. But after letting go of the past, there is one final question. What are you going to do with the life you still have? Because Stoicism isn't about becoming cold. It isn't about becoming emotionless. And it isn't about pretending that nothing hurts. It's about becoming strong enough that pain doesn't decide who you become. And that leads us to the final rule. The seventh and final rule is to build a life that gives you peace. Don't wait for peace. Build it. Peace doesn't mean your life will have no problems. It means your problems no longer control your inner world. You can have difficult days and still remain steady. You can experience loss and still remain grateful. You can disagree with someone without hating them. You can face uncertainty without falling apart. That is strength. Real strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like saying nothing. Sometimes it looks like forgiving. Sometimes it looks like starting over. Sometimes it looks like sitting alone in the morning and realizing that you don't need anything extraordinary to be grateful for this day. After 50, your goal doesn't have to be proving how much you can accomplish. It can be becoming the kind of person who is difficult to disturb, someone who doesn't react to every insult, someone who doesn't chase every opportunity, someone who doesn't need everyone's approval, and someone who understands that life is temporary and therefore precious. Perhaps that is one of the greatest gifts of getting older. You finally realize what deserves your attention, and more importantly, you realize what doesn't. So stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop chasing people who don't value your presence. Stop wasting your precious time on meaningless arguments. Stop allowing your past to control your present. Stop living for approval and start protecting what truly matters: your character, your time, your relationships, your peace, your attention, and your life. Because getting older is not simply about losing years. It is about gaining perspective. Perhaps the greatest achievement is reaching a point where you no longer need to prove anything. You simply live quietly, wisely, with purpose, and with peace. Remember this: you cannot control how the world treats you, but you can control how you meet the world. Sometimes, the strongest person in the room is not the one who speaks the loudest. It is the one who has finally learned what is not worth responding to. If you're over 50, don't automatically believe that your best years are behind you. Perhaps your best years begin when you finally stop living for everyone else. Protect your peace. Use your time wisely. Appreciate the people who truly matter. Let go of what you cannot change and live the rest of your life deliberately. Because you don't necessarily need more time. You need to make better use of the time you have. And when you reach the end of the day, perhaps the most important question isn't, did everyone approve of me? It isn't, did I win every argument? And it isn't, did I impress everyone? The better question is this: did I live today according to my values? If the answer is yes, then you have something far more valuable than approval. You have peace, and that is a kind of success no one can take away from you.